Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Limit Breakdown, where we break down the latest in TV, movies, and everything going on in entertainment. I'm your host, Migs.
I'm Sid.
And today we're going to be doing our review of the new Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Our 60-second, too long didn't watch review of this movie. This movie had some well-timed references and Easter eggs. It had a pretty good overall plot. And the main villain, Juergen Voller, played by Mads Mikkelsen, was fantastic.
Unfortunately, it had too many subplots that just didn't make sense. The de-aging CGI to make them look younger was a little hit or miss, and the movie did not need to be 2.5 hours long. For this reason, we gave it 3 hearts. So stick around after our intro for a deep dive, spoiler-filled review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Everybody, for our review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the 5th, I believe, addition to the Indiana Jones movie franchise.
Yeah, this is number 5.
So yeah,
and much like Indiana Jones himself, this movie felt old and tired.
Before we continue, the scene where you see Harrison Ford just as a boxer just making all that racket, I was like, yeah.
You turn that down.
I feel you, man. I feel you. But kicking things off, overall, what was your overall reaction for this movie?
Okay, so I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm split on this one because on the one hand, it was what I felt to be a classic Indiana Jones adventure. There was some swashbuckling, there was some whipping, there was some gunplay, there was some car chases.
There were some Nazis.
So like it had all of the classic elements that you look for in an Indiana Jones story. But at the same time, as we discussed, there were too many like pointless subplots. Like at one point, the one actress, the one that was playing his goddaughter, Helena. Yeah, that's the character's name. Mm-hmm. I think the actress's name
Phoebe Waller or something.
Yeah, Phoebe. I think at one point there was a whole thing where she was getting chased by an ex-fiance that was like a mob boss in Morocco.
Yeah.
And it was like, what was the point of that?
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me. Let me recap the movie. So basically, Indiana Jones is now a beginning of the movie, he retires as a professor. Helena, his goddaughter, comes back to him after 18 years of being missing, and he's like, "Hey, remember my dad's research? Let's go do this." Turns out she actually is she is an archaeologist, but she's a thief. She takes that stuff, sells it to the highest bidder. And there's a bunch of subplots in the way, right? Mads Mikkelsen the whole time is just like, oh, this Dial of Destiny is this thing called whatever, and it can, you can time travel. So the whole time, Mads Mikkelsen is looking after the Antikythera, which is the Dial of Destiny, which can apparently either time travel or, predict future events. And this girl's after it because she just wants to sell it. Indiana Jones thinks she's after it for actual research, but whatever. The subplot that I didn't understand was that, which he pointed out at the end of the movie, if she just wanted to sell that item, why did she know every page of her dad's research to look into it?
Yeah, I mean I think that was kind of like an obvious setup. It was like, yeah, she, on the one hand, she's just like, oh, I just wanted to sell it. But to me, it was obvious. Whoever she planned to sell it to, she was planning on stealing it from. So,
I mean, yes. But overall, it just didn't make sense. Like, there was no like, hey, actually this.
You know what didn't make sense to me? Where the diamonds went to that she got from Voller after she gave him up, and he handed him he handed her a pouch full of diamonds. I didn't see her throw them anyway, and she's got sticky fingers and quick hands, so those diamonds went somewhere.
So she still had them at the end of the movie.
Yeah, so like,
and those are a lot of big. They were like this big each.
I mean, they're Nazi diamonds. Come on,
and they're even worth more.
But
that's like another subplot that didn't make sense.
Yeah, no, there was so many, and like they added. It felt like they added things just for the sake of adding things. Like, while I appreciated seeing Antonio Banderas, like
I was not expecting that.
There was really no point to that. To have them go deep sea diving for the other half of the
the Dial of Destiny.
The Dial of Destiny to go to go after the other half, and then eels are similar to snakes, so that checks another box. It just felt like this movie, they had like a checklist of things that they wanted to check off as far as what they thought needed to be in an Indiana Jones movie, and they just went down the list. And like, there were some things that worked for me.
Yeah.
Like, I did enjoy the very, very beginning of the movie was the Indiana Jones movie that I wish we would have gotten, which was, kind of him fighting more directly with the Nazis, kind of a little bit younger. I don't know why we're so opposed to recasting these roles. Like, there's no reason that an 80-year-old Harrison Ford needs to still be playing Indiana Jones. Like, why can't we cast a new actor? Why do these characters have to die with the actor? Like, I understand people have nostalgia. I understand people are attached to the character and to the actor representing these actors. But how many Batmans have we had? How many James Bonds have we had? Like, we can't get another Indiana Jones?
I mean, eventually we will. Well, I don't know. I will say, this seemed like a swan song to Indiana Jones.
And you know what? Any criticisms that I have of this film and of this franchise are not at all directed to Harrison Ford.
Oh, no.
Because he brought it. Like, he brought his A game. You could tell that he did what, he was given to do with the movie. Like, he was part of the reason why I enjoyed the movie to the degree that I did. Yeah. And then the de-aging technology, like, there were some parts of it where it was pretty good. It looked, and then he would turn his head and it looked completely awful.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I was glad they brought in the de-aging technology to show the past of what had happened. And at first I was like, dang, Harrison Ford looks good. And I'm like, oh wait, that's his younger self.
Yeah. Coming back to my rant about recasts, and not to be harping on the same train over and over again, but they killed off Indiana Jones' son that in the Crystal Skull was played by Shia LaBeouf, right? I think his nickname was Mutt.
I don't. It's been.
But anyway,
was he his son in that movie?
It was his son.
Okay, yeah.
And in this one, that was part of why he was all bummed out, because his son went into the military and he died in Vietnam or something along those lines. Why can't we just recast him? Like, cast another actor. If you don't want Shia LaBeouf to play that character, then don't cast another actor. Like, it's just frustrating because to me it didn't make sense for them to kill him off.
Well, so they tried. So another point to the subplots didn't make sense. That subplot that they had, that he lives alone in like this shady rundown apartment. His son, we learn later that as tragic as it is, his son enlisted in the military, died, and then because of that, his wife couldn't take the grief. He wasn't there for her, and they split, and they're going through a divorce. That was one of the stuff. And then at the very end, she's just back. Obviously Helena pulled some strings, like, we need each other, whatever, and they make up. But I think the whole subplot could have just been eliminated or not even added, and I don't think it would have added or subtracted any value to the movie. Personally,
that's one of the few things that actually did work for me. Was his wife coming back in the end, because it seemed to me more that their separation was due more to his lack of communication than rather any affection, because obviously it was triggered by grief and the loss of their son. And so, with him going through whatever he's going through, like, he didn't want to reach out to her because he didn't want to bother her. Whereas like, they had just come back, he'd been shot. So that kind of made a little bit of sense to me. But amongst the other things that didn't make sense, the whole CIA involvement. Now, of course, like I understand Voller, right? So he supposedly, after World War II, he came over and worked for the U.S. like many other Nazi scientists did. Was one of the scientists that contributed to the rockets that got the astronauts to the moon. Makes sense. That's actually kind of true to kind of what happened in real life. Nazi scientists helped develop American technology post World War II. What didn't make sense to me was, okay, so the CIA is involved with this dude, and then the one CIA agent that's helping them, as soon as she figures out that they're not really doing what they're saying that they're going to do, and they're on some other stuff, like, and especially when she got Indiana Jones's files, like, why didn't she team up with Indiana Jones? Like, it would have been a much better movie if instead of chasing after this goddaughter, like, you would have had, Indiana Jones is now going to team up with the CIA.
That would have made way more sense. And the whole involvement of the CIA they're like, oh, well, you can do your little research as long as you help United States. That sounds like a very weird deal.
Yeah.
To a deal, like, it's like, oh, you can do whatever you want as long as you're, I found that weird. That whole subplot, again, did not make any sense to me.
And Nazis, look, I'm listen. Look, I understand that Nazis are a good villain. I love me a good punching Nazi sequence. I love me a good killing Nazi sequence. Look, I'm in the
job of killing Nazis.
And I mean, I like it when business is a booming, cuz. but at the same time, like, can we get another type of villain for Indiana Jones other than Nazis
or Russians?
Yeah.
That's the only two you got.
Yeah.
Nazis or Russians.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of Nazis, I feel like we've said it too many times.
Yeah.
The actor who played Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
He's actually one of my favorite actors. I love him. He's so good. He was in the TV show Hannibal as Hannibal Lecter.
Okay.
Obviously, he's been in James Bond, one of the James Bond movies. He was one of the villains. Phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
I thought
he did a fantastic job.
He did a great job in Indiana Jones. The way he portrayed himself, the way everything went. Him being obviously a doctor of I think he was a physicist.
How did he survive getting smacked in the face by that light pole?
Just getting there. So beginning of the movie, they're on the train. Indiana Jones versus and plus his little henchman, and then the guy's like, "I want the dial," and then there's a pole while on a moving train, and he goes boom. I was expecting a scar.
Yeah.
Eyeball missing. He's gonna be like, "Oh, this is a prosthetic," and it's just like,
well, like, yeah, like I thought we were gonna see like some sort of scene where like some magical thing like brings him back to life, or because like that should have taken him out.
If taken him out, or at least put like a scar on him. He only has like one arm or like half a face, something. No, he just like poof,
he just shook it off, man.
I will go work. Whatever.
Although I did appreciate that his whole shtick was not to go back and help Hitler win, but to go back and kill Hitler so that he could take over.
Overall, it was great. Obviously the big plot twist, besides that one, was when they do use the dial to go back into the past. It's not truly a time traveling machine to wherever you want. It was built by Archimedes through various puzzles and hints.
It's just math.
So the big plot twist at the end, right? Minus the fact that he doesn't want to help Hitler. He wants to kill him and take over. Was that the Dial of Destiny, also called the Antithecera, the Antithecums, built by Archimedes through various hints and puzzles and booby traps, is to bring them specifically to a certain point in history, which was the siege of Syracuse in 212 BC.
Yeah.
Where Archimedes is being attacked, and he's like, I will build this so people can come and help me.
Yeah.
And they're like, this wouldn't have helped.
So, well, it wasn't so much as like a time machine, but it was more like it basically it recognized like a juncture in between the two time periods. Something
any time period.
Yeah.
Brings them specifically to.
But for me, it seemed more that it was one of those like closed loop situations, because if you remember when they got to the tomb of Archimedes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had on the watch, the same watch that Voller had on, that he pulled out of the wreckage, right? And then if you looked at the engravings on the tomb itself, the propellers,
which was from the
which was from the crash, so it's kind of like all of those events had already happened.
Yep.
And like they needed to go back to that point in time in order for Archimedes to build the Themyscira or whatever it's called.
Yes,
the thickums.
So one of the plots that I thought was
we're gonna get that right at some point.
One of the plots that I thought was hilarious was when they finally get there. The bad guy's plane gets taken down by catapults, more or less,
and really big spears.
And sideways they just machine guns a bunch of people that are just wearing like armor. I found that hilarious. Anyways, Indiana Jones is like, well, I've researched this stuff. I'm watching history. I want to live it. Right? And he's like, can I stay with Archimedes? Which, to be completely honest, had he done that, I would have been 100% satisfied with that ending.
Yeah.
If he's like, I want to stay, I want to witness history, and just stay here and witness history as it was, I would have been. And I was expecting then to be a later scene where Helena finds like a secret something that he had coded thousands of years ago. But the funniest thing, she goes, cool, thanks. Whop! Knocks him out, and he wakes, and then obviously they take him back to his own time. I
thought that was quite appropriate.
I thought it was hilarious.
It was quite appropriate.
I actually, because she did that, I enjoyed the ending.
Yeah.
Had he been like, okay, fine, but because she just knocked him out and took him, I was like, all right, I'm satisfied now.
A standout for me was Ethan Isidore as Teddy.
He was pretty good.
The little kid. I really enjoyed his character. The certain parts that he had, the pickpocketing and the simulating of the aircraft control, and then actually being able to turn that around and fly the aircraft. Like,
yeah, I enjoyed his character. He did a great job in a lot of the scenes and a lot of in the movie. So yeah.
Moving on to final thoughts on this. For me, like I said, the movie was hit or miss. I feel like we've been overly critical of a lot of the movie, and I don't want that to taint the fact that I actually did enjoy it. I did enjoy seeing it. I think it was worth watching it, but like at the same time, it's just it's one of those where it's like it could have been so much better than it was.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. We have been very critical of it. But overall, I did think it was a enjoyable movie. It was definitely a very Indiana Jones movie, but there were certain parts that were a little unnecessary. Some of the side plots were a little unnecessary, but overall, enjoyable.
Yeah.
So that is the reason, guys, that we gave it 3 hearts. Let us know what you think in the comments below, whether you liked it, disliked it, or anything that we missed.
As always, don't forget to share your thoughts with us. Please interact with the video. It helps us out in the algorithm. As always, hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. And stick around and stay tuned for more content coming up on the channel. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in and keep watching.